I'm tightening up the screws on the breakers, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm going through making sure they're all tight, and normally you use an insulated screwdriver for this, but of course I wasn't, and I'm tightening them up, and my finger just slips just enough to where it's touching the metal part on the screwdriver.
Oh no.
I know, and it's not shocking me. I have good insulated boots. I'm not touching anything, and then I reach over and I touch the panel door, and I hit it with my elbow, and I'm like, man, that tingled. I wonder what that was. So I kept doing it, and I did it again. I'm like, why does it keep tingling? And then it clicked. It clicked.
Oh, I'm closing the circuit.
Yeah, I'm closing the circuit.
With your person.
Yeah. Okay, that's what's going on. And I just felt like, I was like, man, how embarrassing. Good thing no one was here to see that.
This is Small Business Celebration, where we introduce you to successful small business owners at their place of business so that you can learn something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business and get your next big breakthrough. Hey Josh, this week's guest is an electrician. I'm totally amped to interview him. This will be fun.
Shocking.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of Small Business Celebration. This week we're going to be talking about, are you working a 16-hour day? How would you like to decrease it to 5? We're also going to be talking about not selling your customers, but talking in terms that they can feel what it is that you do. And to guide us this week is Russell Roberts, the owner of Roberts Electric. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Great to be here.
And for Visioneers who don't know who you are you? What is it that you do?
My name is Russell Roberts. I'm the owner of Roberts Electric, and I provide electrical services for residential, commercial, and industrial.
Like a lot of people here in Kern County, you got started in the oil fields.
I kind of fell into it. When I was 18 out of high school, I wanted to get to work, and so I started a job in the oil fields, and I was just a roustabout changing out valves and stuff, and then I started changing out actuators on top of the valves. And
actuators on the valves, what do? Do they open and close?
Yeah, they open and close the valves remotely.
Okay.
So no one has to be there to open and close the valves to keep it, safe.
And it's electrical.
And it's electrical. So that's how I started. And then when I was doing that, a guy I went to work for, he said, "Oh, you know how to do that already?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, hey, I have a job for you." So he gave me a job, and then that job we actually would build control panels, switch gear, motor controls, and we would put that in sea trains and actually send it over to the Middle East. So it was very, very fun, and you learned a lot. And so that's how I got my electrical start.
Were you a victim of corporate downsizing?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd say I was a victim of corporate downsizing.
Okay.
I worked here for a major oil company. When they left California, they said, "Hey, we have a job for you. It's you can go to Texas, Oklahoma, pick your poison."
Right.
And me having five kids,
right.
Me having 5 kids, there was no way I was gonna just pick up and go. So the nice thing is they told me 2-3 years in advance that they were gonna shut down, and that
wow.
They're like, "Well, we need your talents on other places," and that's when I thought to myself, been doing electrical for a long time. At the time I was pretty cocky. I was like, I know electrical better than everybody, right?
Right, sure.
I think that's kind of everybody is. It just kind of got the gears turned in my head. Like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take my C10. I'm already a certified electrician.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take my C10. I'm gonna get my contractor's license and just kind of see how that plays out. And that way, up until I have to leave, I can see if my business is gonna kind of work, right?
So you were one of these people that went through and very smartly said, "I'm going to start a business, but I'm going to do it on the side and go through and keep my good-paying job.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work as far as the business goes, I still can go and keep the main job."
Yeah, and it worked out really well because as I did that, when my business grew, before my job was over, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I think I can make this work. I think I can do it full time. And so I ended up quitting my job.
Oh.
Before they let me go. I ended up quitting my job, and then about 3 months after I quit, they called me like, "Hey, we need you back."
We need your talents.
And I was like, that's funny because, I'll come back to work and, help out, but you need to sign a contract with Roberts Electric so I can get out there and
nice.
work for myself still. So it worked out really well. And so I did that. I did it up until the day they left. So it worked out fantastic.
What did your wife think when you decided to quit the job, the good paying job, and go for the business that it was starting to do well, but she knows it's you, her, and 5 kids?
Yeah, obviously she thought I was nuts. But and it's something that I saw and I kind of picked up from other business owners. You're not going to be successful if you don't give it 100%, right? So I knew, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to give it 100%, and she understood.
What was the first client that you had that proved to you and to your wife, yeah, this can work?
It's hard to pick out one client. When I first started, it was friends and neighbors, and the guy helped me with my taxes. Oh yeah, I need this done. I need help here. And so then I was going out and doing it, and they were like, "Wow, you did such a good job. It was amazing," and really started promoting me. Right. Wow. And we're in Kern County. Word of mouth is the biggest way to get work. And so once you have people out there promoting you, it just kind of all starts falling in place.
You do mostly commercial work still?
Yes, yeah, I do mostly commercial work. Been doing a lot of hotels lately, but yeah, we are geared for commercial work, and
switchgear, valves, and all this stuff in the oil field still.
Yeah, and anything PG&E related. Okay. We are all my guys are PG&E certified. So if you need panels replaced, switchgear put in, yeah, and any of that stuff, we're really good at it. If you need a new electrical for, let's say, your motor or your water pumps or anything like that, we're great at going in and getting that fixed for you.
You're primarily in the hotel market, oil market, farming?
Yeah, I do a lot of farming, and we travel. I go up north, down south.
And what areas do you go?
I'll do work down in LA, Central Coast, Fresno area. I do a bunch. Hanford area, I do a lot. Visalia.
Right.
Yeah, even Ridgecrest out in the desert.
Hey, yeah. Home. Yeah. One of the things that's also happening is that the tax incentives for solar have ended.
Yes.
However, people now have had solar panels for 10, 12, 15 years, and it's no secret that there's a lot of companies that manufactured those panels that are no longer in business.
Yeah.
Do you also repair the electrical on solar panels and things like that?
Yeah, I do a lot of solar work. I have a crew that's dedicated just to solar.
Really?
Yeah, and we do a lot of repairs. We do a lot of fixes.
So if you've got a situation where you have an inverter that goes out, obviously you take care of that.
Yeah.
But what if somebody's got, let's say they have 10 panels on their building or out in their field or whatever it is like that, but one of those panels is no longer functioning. Can you get them another panel even though it's a different manufacturer and integrate it into their system?
Yeah, we definitely do that. Panels now are a lot bigger than the old panels.
Right.
So sometimes you got to kind of move things around. And unfortunately, a lot of old equipment isn't compatible with new equipment. And it's all finding the cheapest way for the customer to get that. And we also do residential, but I've done megawatt systems and big commercial systems, so we can help out there.
And how many trucks do you have?
I have 8.
8 trucks.
I have 8 trucks. Yeah.
Not so little on the side of the job kind of business anymore, is it?
Yeah. No. Got 8 trucks out there. Paying insurance on all of them, it's killer.
And if you found that the house that you're in is way too far from your business, well, perhaps it's time to get a new house. And to do that, I suggest you reach out to Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty, born and raised and never left Bakersfield. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. And Visioneers, if you've got a question, you've got thoughts, something you'd like to learn about here on Small Business Celebration, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and your question could appear just like Curtis, who asks, how do you describe your service in a way that a customer feels it and instantly relates to it emotionally?
I would say that it's confidence, reliability, and a lot of integrity. And one of the ways that we kind of install that give that feeling is when I'm talking to a customer, we're going through, I let them know, like, if it's something we worked on, if I touch this and we work on it and it's not right, even if it's 10 years down the road, I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to charge you to come back and fix whatever the problem was.
Right.
Because electrical should last for decades, right?
At least high voltage electrical.
Yeah.
Low voltage is another story.
Low voltage is another story, yeah. Sometimes low voltage, you're pushing all those amps. Yeah, you can wear out quick, yeah.
Because one of the things that you're describing is something that a lot of people can't see until something goes wrong.
Right.
When you're describing a new system, somebody's lights are flickering or they need to add power to their existing facility, what is your process of going through and taking a look at what their need is so that you can help them solve that problem and be able to describe it in terms that they may not know what Ohm's law is, but describe it in a way that they can understand it?
Electrical, a lot of people, it goes over people's heads when you get into it. But the big thing is, if you're overloading a circuit, you're trying to plug too much into one circuit, Do you ask them how many coffee makers they're plugging into a circuit? Yeah. Hair dryers is the big one for residential. Yeah, how many hair dryers are you plugging in? And that's kind of how I do it too. Is I'll talk to them and try to describe, what they're using. Or is your electric oven? Do you have an electric stove? All that's what's your water heater? What are you trying to run in the mornings in your bathroom, right?
Right.
And so we can do it to match and separate circuits. And even upgrade your service. A lot of these older houses have 100 amp service. We can go in and put in 200 amps and give them a lot more usable power.
At the time of this recording, how long does it take PG&E to put in a transformer for your commercial clients?
From start to finish, you're probably looking close to a year.
A year?
Mm-hmm.
So when a commercial client wants to come in and they want to expand their shop, they want to add more equipment, they want to put in charging stations for their electric vehicles, how do you talk to the customer or explain to the customer to let them understand that just because they want to go ahead and put in that drill press, it's going to take a minute? Yeah,
and if you can, obviously, if you're going to expand, PG&E is one of those things you need to get on top of right away, because you have to have permits filed. PG&E wants to see the permit, and there's even certain jobs that they do prevailing wage. So it's all stuff that you have to take into account and try to get ahead of it.
And that brings us to the Visioneer Game. The Visioneer Game is brought to you by Minimum Press of Bakersfield. Now, Visioneers, it's month of January 2026, and it's folder season. Folder season, yes. You've got taxes coming up. You want to make solid presentations. You want to make people recognize that, hey, your business is for real. First impressions happen fast. When your proposal hits the table, does it look like a winner? Upgrade your presentation with custom presentation folders from Minimum Press of Bakersfield. Right now, in the month of January 2026, get 250 custom folders and save over $200. Clean, professional, branded, the kind of detail that makes clients say, yes, these people are the real deal. Don't show up with loose papers, show up with confidence. Call Minimum Press of Bakersfield, 661-323-7757, or visit them at mmpbakersfield.com today. Now, Visioneers, if you're not familiar with the way the game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone. I have no idea what the random generated word is going to be, but neither does our guest. And our guest has to take each of 3 words that I give him and somehow associate each word with his business. Now, Russell, you do realize that the fate of the entire electrical world is on your shoulders. If you get one of these 3 words wrong, it's going to be utter oblivion to all electrical, which means the electrical is not going to exist. We're going to have darkness in all of our houses. Our TVs aren't going to work. Our internet, our phones aren't going to work, all because you got one word wrong.
All right, well, I got the pressure. We can do it. I can do it.
Your first word is passion.
Electrical is something I've been in forever, so there's a lot of passion into all the work that I provide, and my guys have a lot of passion too, so everything we do, we have a lot of passion in all the work we do to get it done correctly for you.
Passion. Gotta say it one more time.
Passion.
Very good. That's 1 for 1. Oh, well done.
1 for 1.
Okay. Your second word is maximum.
When you hire me to do your work, you get the maximum value that you could get out of any electrician.
Nice. That's 2 for 2. Now it all comes down to this. If If you get this one word wrong, it's all for naught.
Yeah, okay.
Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, your final word is opposite.
In electrical, you want to make sure you have alternating current and not the opposite for your house.
No DC, right?
No DC.
Nice.
All AC.
That's 3 for 3. Well done, you. You have saved the world. Well, now that you've saved the world and saved the universe and had this life-changing experience here on Small Business Celebration, who would you like to thank?
I would like to thank Nancy Renfro for getting me in EAKC and introducing me to Kathy, who introduced me to you, and rest is
here we
history.
are.
Here we are.
Well, and for those who don't know, who is the EAKC?
It stands for Executive Association of Kern County. It's a group of business owners such as myself, and we all work together to help each other out and solve different problems that we come up with that's not in our business, and refer each other out, and it's a tight-knit group, and it's great.
And sometimes they're even willing to come on YouTube channels.
And sometimes we even come on YouTube channels.
And that brings us to our second Visioneer question, which is also brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty, selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. Visioneer Aaron asks, how do I go from working a 16-hour day to working just 9 to 1 without having my business fall apart?
It takes a lot of hours in the beginning. You got to surround yourself with people you trust, and you got to take their advice. You have to interview people, make sure you have people you have, and then trust them. And trust is a hard thing to have, and it's a hard thing to do. But once you trust certain people in certain aspects, you can kind of step back from that. Granted, you still need to involve yourself as much as possible. Big for me is, I want to spend as much time with my kids as I can. I used to work 16-hour days and be gone all week. And so now I feel like, now is the time that I can actually make up for when I was gone and spend more time with my kids. And
before you were able to go from a 16-hour workday to a 5-hour workday or a 6-hour workday, how much time did you spend in the business on a daily basis in order to get the ability to have that 6-hour workday?
A lot of weekends, a lot of nights, getting it there.
So it didn't just happen overnight.
It didn't just happen overnight. And there's still a lot of times, especially in the beginning of projects and the end of projects, that you are, inundated with a lot of work.
And what was the process like in order to get you there?
The first thing I did, is, a lot happens in EAKC too, because you meet other business owners and they kind of, they tell you, once you get people that you hire, that you trust, and that you gotta just, you just gotta go with it. And then obviously you always want to do your checks, make sure that, things aren't going haywire. And then you have to be very efficient with your time. When you work, you definitely, you want to get as much done as you can and be very efficient with your time, and, allows you for more free time.
So the key to all this is, first of all, hire the right people.
Which is difficult, but yes, that is a key to it. Yeah.
What were the bullet points of finding the right talent so that you could offload a lot of this work and get your time back?
A lot of what helped me was, since I was in the industry for so long, I knew a lot of electricians, and there were a lot of people that I trusted, that I knew they knew what they did. And so at first, you can't necessarily hire that person, but they know somebody like, hey, this would be a good fit for you. And so that's kind of how you want to do it, honestly, is a lot of it's word of mouth. Hey, this guy's a good fit, this guy's a good fit. And then you try them out, and, most of the time they are. And so a lot of recommendations in hiring is where I really found the best way to limit your liability.
When you went through and you started offloading more and more projects or tasks onto your employees, how did you do that so that you had the confidence that they could handle, or if they couldn't, somebody else could?
Open line of communication, right? Anytime they get stuck or have a problem, I want to be their first call. And then we can tackle the problem together.
How did you go through and do tasks so that you could test one of your employees to make sure that they were confident and capable of doing something that took something off your plate?
A lot of it's, working side by side with them. So a lot of employees, I'll work side by side with them and see how they handle the situation. I try not to give much input, let them
figure it out.
Let them figure it out. And then, obviously when they do get stuck, I'm there for whatever input is needed.
And then you just grow and build from there?
You grow and build from there. Electrical is not, one electrician is expert at commercial, residential, and industrial. They're all a little different, right? They all have different codes and everything they need. Where a house is a lot of Romex, and
right.
200 amp panels, where like a hotel is a 3,000 amp panel and it's all
right.
conduit, right? Those two don't cross. So you kind of want to make sure you have the people that are experts in that field, right?
Tell me your favorite horror story.
I mean, there's a lot of them I could actually tell you, but it's kind of embarrassing.
Oh,
so I don't know.
Please, go ahead.
Like, one time I'm tightening up the screws on the breakers, right? I'm going through making sure they're all tight, and normally you use an insulated screwdriver for this, but of course I wasn't, and I'm tightening them up, and my finger just slips just enough to where it's touching the metal part on the screwdriver.
Oh no.
I know. And it's not shocking me. I have good insulated boots. I'm not touching anything. And then I reach over and I touch the panel door, and I hit it with my elbow, and I'm like, man, that tingled. I wonder what that was. So I kept doing it, and I did it again. I'm like, why does it keep tingling? And then it clicked. It clicked.
Oh, I'm closing the circuit.
Yeah, closing the circuit
with your person.
Yeah. Okay, that's what's going on. And I just felt like, I was like, man, how embarrassing. Good thing no one was here to see that. But that's complacency. And when you work in an electrical field, you can't get complacent, because that obviously could have turned into something a lot worse. And, you got to make sure you're using the right tools, and you got to make sure to be safe.
Don't do what I did.
Don't do what I did. Don't learn the hard way. Well, that was actually the easy way. It's the comical way, right? The hard way is, you're dead. But
it's no secret that there's a lot of business owners right now who are struggling. They're having a rough time.
Yeah.
What do you say to your fellow business owner who is having a rough time, and let them know that it's going to be okay?
Keep fighting. Never give up. That's the best thing to do, because there's times even now that I struggle with business. Business is always up and down. It's always going to be hard. You just got to know, you just got to believe in yourself, know that you can be resourceful, and don't ever give up, and it'll happen. And you'll look back at this time and you'll be like, oh, you'll laugh at it. Funny
I shouldn't
how hard
have
it was.
used an uninsulated screwdriver and touched it with
touch it with your elbow. Yeah, just don't stop fighting. Keep trying your hardest, and if you keep trying and you work hard at it, and you just tackle one thing at a time, and you'll get there, and you'll laugh at, wow, I was so stressed during this time, and it was just the running up to what made me who I am.
Russell, this has been a real treat. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
If Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You want to get a hold of me, need some work done, just give us a call. The office number is 661-464-0767.
And I'll be right back with my final thought. Life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. Life can be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. We've got a guest coming up on Small Business Celebration that I can't wait to introduce you to. And I've known him, he started his business a year after we started Small Business Celebration. And he's got a very rote business. It's one of these kind of businesses that everybody's got to have. It doesn't seem very creative or imaginative. But the reality is he has done something astounding for such a kind of monotonous business that he has. But he and I were talking and doing our pre-interview phone call like we usually do with all of our guests. And most of those conversations are like a half hour, 45 minutes long. But we must have talked for like 2 hours long. And at one point in that conversation, he got very philosophical and he said, Michael, life can only be understood backwards. It must be lived forwards. Well, I found out that Kierkegaard was the one who actually said that. But I understood what he meant, because you have to go through life forwards, and it's not until you sit back and reflect on what worked, what didn't, that you begin to learn the lessons of life. But I was feeling rather mischievous that day, and I said, yeah, but have you ever been in a history class, like when you were in junior high or high school or college? And my friend looked at me and he said, yes, I barely even passed them. And I said, well, but I love history. History is great. And I said, because you can go ahead and you can learn what not to do before you have to do it. And he said, well, that's true, but what you're doing at the same time is you're going through and you're listening or learning on what that person already did. So it's still true. Life can be learned backward through somebody else's experience until you yourself learn it forward. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week here on Small Business Celebration, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough.